show, Corey Raymond was fired at the University of Florida. I came out here and just prefacing what I said, like, hey, man, do I think there's a strong possibility that Corey could come back here in any capacity? Yeah. I said, do I hate it? No, I wouldn't hate it. Did I say that there will be so many questions that need to be answered? Yes. And every response that I got, at least a lot of the responses I got were pretty similar, at least to some extent. Mainly most of them being, Blake, he's one of the best recruiters we ever had. When did I say that he ever wasn't? When have you ever seen me tweet? When have you ever seen me say on this show that he's not? But you can recruit all the live long day. We see this a lot of times. LSU is currently seeing it along their defensive line right now. They're seeing it at their defensive back room right now. You have to be able to evaluate, develop, and put a product on the field that can get you to where you need to go. You did that a year ago. You evaluated out of the portal, and I've said this religiously. I said this to start the season, that Jarek Bernard-Converse, for even though he was here for a year, deserves to be one of those LSU legends in the secondary, because how many things Jarek Bernard-Converse covered up for you, along with Mekhi Garner, Joe Fouché, Jay Ward. Guys, you had five seniors that in your defensive back room bailed you out more than you know. A fifth-year guy in Micah Baskerville, a third-year guy who's blowing up off the charts as one of the best defensive players in the SEC in B.J. Ojulari. And then you added in a five-star recruit that is generational in Harold Perkins. What did all of that have in common? You have five seniors, five upperclassmen that bailed you out. Now you do not have that. But I gave you an opinion that you didn't agree with, which is fine. We can disagree in opinions. But my opinion is that if Corey Raymond were to come back, you can recruit, yes. But do you know, and if you don't want to take my word for this, why don't you go look it up yourself? 247 on 3 Rivals, a lot of those guys are good at their jobs. Evaluating stars to talent, I'm going to give them that. They're not bad. The biggest position that they miss on is DB. Without question, it's DB. I'll give an LSU example of the last real true five-star that you got here in that defensive back room. His name was Elias Ricks. Now, is Elias playing at Philadelphia right now? Yes. Is he a starter? No. Elias has always had that talent. He couldn't stay healthy in high school. He couldn't stay healthy at LSU, and had some issues in Alabama where he didn't start a third of the beginning of the season until he got his mind right to play for Nick Saban. But I do think it's funny that when Nick Saban gets players' minds right and Brian Kelly attempts to do it, Brian Kelly is attacked for doing it. Nick Saban is not. But he has better personnel and he's recruiting better. That's why. But I said all that, which got thrown out of the window about Corey Raymond. Like, thrown out of the window. Do I think he's a great recruiter? Yes. Do I think that do I think that ultimately would be better under Corey? Would I mind it if he would be here? No. I don't mind it if Corey would be here. But what's the reality? The reality is, since NIL was brought into college athletics, Corey Raymond's secondaries have gone 127th, 91st, 74th, and 69th. Do you want to know what that averages to over the last 4 years? 90th. Corey has led the 90th ranked secondary in the last 4 years since NIL was enacted. But you could probably ask yourself, well, Blake, why are you keeping out everything else? Which I saw that ridiculous list of the guys that he didn't recruit in 2012, okay, that were all Americans before he got here. I'm not going to be petty, but nevertheless, NIL changed everything. Now, I've heard from a lot of you, so let me use your logic against you. I've heard, Blake, LSU can't compete with Texas in recruiting. Blake, LSU can't compete with Texas A&M in recruiting, even though LSU did have, under Brian Kelly, in the 2 classes when he was technically the head coach, both of them being in the top 5. Well, how'd that work? Because offensively, you have recruited, evaluated, and developed at an elite level. At an elite level. Right? But when NIL is enacted, if you're going to say that LSU is behind, does Derek Williams change? Maybe. Maybe Derek Williams can change. That's where Corey's from. Okay? I'm not going to argue you on that. Maybe it does change. But I was under the assumption that guys like Derek Williams goes to Texas off of the money that he's receiving from the Longhorns. That's what I was told. I was also told the same exact thing about Jacoby Matthews. So if that is your argument about NIL and these kids are going other places because of money, then what? You have to be able to develop. And I don't know if the next coordinator or the coordinator that's still there, that Corey Raymond is compatible with what they want to do there. Corey is a bump and run, man-to-man dude. Brian Kelly loves running zone coverages. Loves it. Because you've been running a lot of zone coverages since he's been here. Quarters being the coverage that you run the most. Again, I am not saying I hate it. I'm not saying that Corey can't come back here and dominate. Guys, with all due respect to anything that you just heard me say, are you outside your damn mind by you thinking that I don't want him to come here and succeed? Because if anybody in this chat right now that makes more money from LSU being good, this show probably makes more money from them being good than them sucking ass cheeks. So yes, I do want him to come back and dominate and go and get the 5-star kid that's a junior at Westgate. Yes, please, sweet God up above. But I think that there has to be questions that have to be answered. Number one, the biggest question for me is, hey, you're coming back. LSU defensive back room when you left was abysmal. That's the reason why LSU had to go into the portal the last 2 years. Okay? Can you reestablish that? And not only reestablish what you have been in that room, but how quickly can you do it? Because, guys, I'm going to tell you, like, right now you have to go do it. Like, this isn't something that you can wait on for it to be developed. This isn't like a brisket where you put it in a smoker for 12 hours and let that son of a gun marinate. You can't do that. You got to go, what is it called? I don't know. Kraft mac and cheese instantly in the microwave. You gotta be instant. You have to be quick like a microwave, because if you're not, you can be in trouble here. I don't know the status of Denver Harris. I don't know the status of, well, maybe I do on one of them, but I don't know the status of Deuce Chestnut. Zy Alexander has a torn ACL. The likelihood of him even remotely coming back and being ready for week one, guys, I'm going to be real, isn't highly likely. You whiffed on your portal guys. And I heard was sent a clip about something today that said this. Why is everybody blaming Matt House and not Robert Steeples? Well, because Robert Steeples was not over who they brought into the portal. And if anybody that has something that looks like this, mine, as my good buddy Josh Pate would say, mine's called the eye Blake, okay? If you pick up the phone and ask, hey, who went and got all of those guys from the portal? I know one guy that they could not, that would have started here and been good, that being J.K. Johnson. He did not see the field. Denver Harris was a bust. Okay, this year, I'm not saying he is overall. This year, what he should have done on the field was a bust. So it's got to be instant. Number 2. Guys, I'm old enough to remember when he held LSU a little bit hostage. If you remember in the Ed Orgeron era, there was so much conversation. Defensive coordinator left. Remember Bo Pelini? Dave Aranda left. Okay, a lot of you said, well, why don't we just promote Corey Raymond? And then when they went and got Bo Pelini, a lot of people said, well, Corey's mad at Bo, but Bo won't let him do what he's doing. Well, what were we doing? We were running man-to-man coverage. What are we talking about? That's exactly what Corey wants to run. So I remember that. And then I remember Football Scoop running an article saying, okay, basically in a nutshell, Corey Raymond has been has been contacted for the Georgia job, been contacted for the Florida job. And it happened to 3 years. It happened in 17, actually happened in 16 under O. It happened in 17 under O. It happened in 18 under O. It happened in 19 under O. It happened in 20 under O. Go look up the articles. Football Scoop ran it every single year. And then what happened? That article would publish. Next thing you know, Joe Oliva, more money to Corey Raymond, which you're playing the game. I get that. Good on it. And he was at the top of his game. Give him the money he wants. I'm not complaining about that. But don't threaten me on you leaving when there's so many other ways you can do that. You don't have to go nuclear every year. So if you come back and, which by the way, has anybody heard what Florida has said about this situation? Have you cared to know? I read an article today that said that in the last 2 years, and I'm quoting here, has been the issue with Corey Raymond, it would appear under 2 different defensive coordinators, he could not get along with both of them. That is the lead beat writer who writes that article about Corey Raymond. Does that sound familiar? Number 3. If Corey comes back, okay, he's going to have to use all of his talents to get us back where we were. All of them. All the things that you used to do in recruiting that I know that you were doing and that you know that you were doing that you're not doing now. Guys, this is a dirty business. It's a grimy, yucky, disgusting business when it comes to recruiting. Dude, I'm telling you, it is disgusting what some people do out in these streets. But you got to be able to do what you need to do to get kids here. And I know look, I'm not reading your comments at the current moment. I turned them off so I didn't get swayed by your comments of getting off topic and reading them. But you have to do everything humanly possible. Because defensively, we cannot continue to go like this. Guys, if we're being honest with ourselves, okay? If we're being honest from ourselves, outside of last year, in the last I would make the argument 5 years defensively, we have had issues, specifically along the defensive line. Now, I know that has nothing to do with Corey Raymond, but DB's coach is going to be corners coach is going to be a massive addition. A massive addition. But there is no bigger hire outside of Matt House being let go or going somewhere else and hiring a DC. There is no bigger position at LSU right now, position coach wise, bigger than the defensive line. Not a damn one. I would make the argument that more than Corey Raymond or more than even Steeples being let go and somebody else coming in, guys, you are getting obliterated along the defensive line. You know who didn't have a good secondary this year? Texas A&M. They didn't. They were not good. But you know what's funny? Guys, they had a top 15 total defense or passing defense. You know why? Because their defensive line kicked the dog shit out of everybody. You might not be able to go and get every single 5-star that A&M paid and bought for, but you can go and get the one right below them. I know that you can. You're doing it at every position on offense, literally. I know that they're doing it. You know that they're doing it. And sometimes they are the cream of the crop. There's no big in position group on this defense that has to be fixed right now more than the D-line. Not a goddamn one. All right. Let's move to Matt House, and then I'll start getting to your comments. Okay? But to go back to that A&M point, if you're guys, you might not be able to go get a David Sohn. You can get the guy that's 2 spots below him. I know that you can. I'm giving an example. Okay? But you're going to have to get better along the D-line. Guys, let me just say this to you. And I hate to say it like this, but you know it's true. When have you ever, and I mean ever, remembered a team or an LSU team that would ever have allowed on defense 316 rushing yards like Ole Miss did? It happened in 19. If you remember, that was a lot of the stuff where Dave and Ed were beefing. Remember that? Fire Dave Aranda. I got so many of y'all's tweets bookmarked right now for when you said fire Dave Aranda. I might have 100 of them. Because a lot of the same people that were saying fire Dave Aranda, a lot of you are saying bringing him back. Well, Dave Aranda is not leaving Baylor. Dave is in a bad spot right now. He's 3-9. You have to be able to go out and get dudes along that D-line and front seven for you to be worth the damn on defense. I think you're starting to do that now, especially at linebacker. I think LSU with Tylen Singleton, who, by the way, Sherman Wilson, Debo Atkins, Sherman Wilson, okay? Which, by the way, did y'all see the piece today from Jane Daniels talking about Sherman Wilson? I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, Blaine Smith says, okay, Blake, your blood pressure's high. No, it's not. No, it's not. Couple of comments, then we'll get to House. Ryan says, picking up Sean Washington helps that D-line a lot. Does it? I think the kick and play, but is he going to be able to come in here and be a game changer? You need a couple of game changers. Can he be a Jordan Jefferson? If he's Jordan Jefferson, I'll take it. It's everybody this year that was around. Guys, Jordan Jefferson's from the portal. He's your best defensive lineman. It's not even remotely close. I'd be honest with you, it's pretty far up it's pretty far up there. I kind of pray to God or wish to God that Jordan Jefferson would be here next year or could be here next year. All right. Paul Sharp says, let's bring back Coach O as the D-line coach. That's not happening. I shouldn't say that's not happening. What I should say is, okay, because Bobby Petrino was hired at Arkansas today as their offensive coordinator, so I shouldn't say it's not going to happen. Guys, you had issues along the defensive line with O. I think O would recruit a lot better and he would develop a lot better. You just don't have a D-line coach that's worth a damn right now on field. Now, could Jimmy Lindsey have done something? I think he would have. But the problem is that we don't know the role that Jimmy Lindsey will be in officially, even though we have to go by what Brian Kelly said is that he's more than likely going to be moved an off the field analytical role. That's cool. That's cool. I hate that for him, but it just is what it is. Because on rush defense, we were 13th in the SEC. 13th. We were 89th nationally. We gave up 163.5 yards per game on the ground. That's never happened here. Literally has never happened here. Not only were you not bad there, you were so bad on third down that Matt House could not buy with the $2 million contract that he has. He couldn't buy a third down. If you want to go 3rd and 7 plus, what is LSU on 3rd and 7 plus? You want to hear this? This is going to piss you off. Guys, LSU is dead last in the country on third down when the possession to gain is 3 and 7 plus. 130th out of 130th. And also, it's not remotely close. Let's talk on Matt House. I've heard a lot of you tell me that, how do I want to say this? I've heard a lot of you tell me either in the DMs and the comments in here or you've used last year as the barometer for what Matt House also should be judged off on, which I don't disagree. You got to judge him off of 2022. You got to judge him off this year. Guys, you were 92nd in the country in 2022 on third down. You're 116th this year on third down. There are areas that you're getting worse. Here's another thing. I have constantly, and I'm going to nip this one in the bud. So last part, I'm going to talk about this because, guys, here's another godforsaken truth. We are this upset over a 9-3 year. Your ass could be South Carolina if you want to. You could be Texas A&M if you want to. But I will take 9-3 as my floor every fucking year. Excuse my language, but I'm just I would. I would take 9-3 as my floor every year. Like if that's my floor, okay. But I've heard a lot of you continuously say, it's personnel, it's personnel, it's personnel. Well, if it's personnel, a lot of these guys you saw a year ago. And if you saw those guys a year ago and they came back and either number one, you did not develop them, or number two, you misevaluated in the portal, it's still your fault that you went out and misevaluated talent. Those kids didn't offer themselves to come to LSU. That means you misevaluated, and that means you overjudged, got needy. You guys, you're not dumb. None of you are here are dumb. None of you. You see these guys that these recruits and transfer portal guys are tagging. The ones that are highly productive, Jordan Jefferson on defense, Jordan Jefferson, Andre Sam. Who are they all tagging from the staff and their photos? It usually revolves around two people. But somebody in that building didn't misevaluate Jane Daniels, even though you wanted him benched. So you can make the arguments to me all you want, personnel, but all that always is going to fall on the DC. It's always going to revolve around the recruiting coordinator. You look, it starts from the top down, even going to Brian Kelly. Now, I do think that Brian Kelly, which I do like about him, which a lot of you don't, I like that he lets the guys underneath him go to work. I really like that. Brian Kelly does not have to do your job for you. Frank Wilson, and they would all tell you this. This isn't an LSU thing. You think they're watching film 5 days a week of their opponent? During the week, they're not doing that. They are not doing that. A lot of what they do throughout the day, too, is recruiting. All right. Couple comments here.